All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I wanted to do another crystal update video for the new Star's End update with the new corrupted crystals that you upgrade. And also I changed a few things around for PvP and also a few other PvE stuff as well. So with that said, whether you're a new player or you're a returning player or you're just looking to update your crystals, hopefully these are something that you should use. I've tested all of them and this is what I have. So if you're looking at this and you're like, I don't have all these presets, that's okay. Most of them you probably don't even need that many. I just kind of like the convenience, but like let's 3 of them you can just swap out the crystals before you do any certain grind. But with that said, yeah, we're gonna just talk about all of these, and no matter what you do, hopefully this should be helpful for you guys. All right, so starting with the PvE ones, this is the overcap area or set of crystals that I use. So what does that mean? Let's start that off with, let's say you pick a spot, right? And you know, it doesn't really matter. What you're gonna see by default is this number. What you want to switch it to is the total stats and then, you know, the species of wherever you're grinding at, right? So if you see a green number, that's good. Your number, you want to be above the effective limit, or at least green in any way. And so if your AP, like your total stats, is higher than effective, that means you're overcapped. And you're going to be trading off some damage for like attack speed, cast speed, and all that thing. So anyway, this is my overcap spot when I'm not grinding the super high-end spots anyway. So we trade off a little bit of extra attack damage for another one of the Alukas, which is because you have the extra attack and cast speed, and that's 2% over here. And also you trade off a few more bits of damage for extra HP. Another thing you could do is, this is more for the end game side of things, you could exchange some all AP from the Han crystals with, like, you know, BSR is always a good one because you don't lose extra AP, but you just get Black Spirit Rage, which allows you to do 100% faster. But ultimately that's more of the end game thingy, and for most of us just all AP is fine. You're going to be seeing a lot of the Han crystals in all of them, just simply because it may not be useful for, like, if you're grinding outside of Edania, you're not getting the 60 extra AP, but the monster damage reduction plus 20 should affect no matter what place you're grinding. So extra layer of defense is always nice, and you know, gear in for PvE is always just the extra drop rate. So if you want to take a screenshot real quick, this is what I'm using. You can see all the crystal names over here and what I have. We'll also talk about some beginner options as well. So you're probably seeing this like, I don't have the crystal void Ak Rod, or I don't have the corrupted gluttony crystals. What do I do? There are the cheap versions that you can get. So like the normal corrupted crystals, these are the same thing as these. These give a little bit more AP, which is the end game thing. But if you don't have it, these are the very cheap options. This gives a little bit less. Same with the Ak Rod. You could get, let me show you, I should have the set previously. The Glorious Crystal, once again, same thing, minus a few AP, and should be good to go. And that's about it. So overcap, you're trading off damage for a little bit of extra attack cast speed and defensives. This one is the full out glass cannon or full out damage one, and if you're not capped out, this is what you're using simply because you want to have the most AP possible. So compared to the other one, you're just getting the most amount of AP as you can. So you're going to have 4 ultimate Macalods. If you don't have the ultimates, just use the regular Macalods, but ultimate is obviously better. And then same with Void Destructions. There's the like non-best in slot version, the 1 step down, minus 2 or 3 AP. And so yeah, this is best in slot for max damage, and it should help you get to the AP cap where you're grinding. So that's what you want to use. All right, so this one is knockdown, knockback, and stun. Essentially, these should all be the same. If you're not overcapped, then you would want to have kind of like this one, but then you would trade out like take out one of these or whatever gives the least amount of damage, and then put in the extra like resist crystals. So knockdown is adamantine, and they have the green version. I don't know if I have any. Yeah, it's like these green versions that give the same thing. These are, you know, the budget option for people who don't have the RBF ones that are like 1 billion silver. So yeah, the reason why I have mine set up like this is simply because the spots I grind that need knockdown and knockback, I'm overcapped for that one. So once again, you can just swap it out for PvE damage if you don't. And then stun resist. This one looks a little bit different because I grind at Star's End, and we have the new Star's End for the 395 AP spot, which I do need a little bit more to cap out. And so, yeah, that's why I'm using max damage, but we also have stun resist, 2 giant crystals over here, and 2 dog patience ones. Honestly, you don't really need these 2. You could replace it with like this one, or, you know, the stalwart fortitude. Honestly, I just kind of had it because it matched the theme, but we're realistically using it for the 5 extra AP against monsters and 5 monster damage reduction. So if you don't have this one in particular, you could use Red Fang Valors if you have those, or you could use, you know, quite literally anything else that gives 5 AP, or, you know, anything else. So this one is more specifically for Star's End, but you could copy this one. And once again, knockback is fighting spirit, and stun resist is giant. So you guys see these? I have 2 Hans. If you don't have them, that's not a big deal. I just go full APs, and that will help. So this one is specifically Star's End for me, but if I wasn't doing Star's End, this is probably what it would look like. Or this one, with the resist crystals at the bottom. So yeah, I don't think anything is different from the other ones, so you probably have seen all of these. All right, so we're going into PvP damage. Now this one is more for, you know, uncapped, and this is more for just max damage. You're gonna be a glass cannon, but this is what I have for PvP, and we have right here double RBF Vipers, which is 10 extra AP against adventurers. So there's a difference between humans and adventurers now. Humans is a species, and adventurers are players. So yeah, 2 RBF Vipers, 2 Red Spirit Crystals for another like 5 AP, then 3 adventurers, and then HP, so just kind of an all-around good one. And then double Karmes, which is +8 for adventurers times 2. So be careful, there's 2 different ones for this one. One is, well, they're the same, it's just one is attack speed and one is cast, like the other version is cast speed. So just make sure to get the one that, you know, so like if you're a caster, you want to get the cast speed one. Aside from that, we have double Dark Fang armors for the extra defense. This is a PvP build, so if you're like a fully geared out and you want something else, you could replace it. The resistances aren't even in PvP anymore. You're doing it for the +7 DR. Or you could just, you know, add another one of these if you wanted to. And then we have double Ulukas for the damage against players, and attack cast speed is always nice. So yeah, I would say this one is more for like just uncapped PvP, and you know, you're just building a little bit of defenses in the side as well. So that's good. This one is for PvP capped. So like if you're doing a node war tier 1 to tier 5, this one like really just depends on what tier you're doing. I think for most people, you're probably still above the cap. And so what you're going to want to do is trade off any excess stats, and you're going to want to add things that will help you. So first and foremost, what do we have here that's different? We have 2 Han BSRs. If you don't have these, that's okay. But it's whatever. The things that are different from here are we have 2 HP recovery ones +3. Like these 2 are HP recovery. If you're overcapped, you just kind of put in random crystals that might help you, and you know, HP on hit is better than nothing. Is it really good? Not really. It's just better than having an extra stat that's not doing anything. And then here we have 2 BMCs of Descent, which reduces fall damage. It really just depends on where you're warring. If you're doing like Valencia wars and you're jumping off of cliffs, this will be really nice. But another alternative that I used is you know, Ascension, which is jump height. If you're not in Valencia wars, you know, jump height to get over like obstacles is pretty nice. But you can swap that out. Really just depends. They aren't really that helpful, but it's just I'm overcapped and you need extra crystal slots or something. So I'd say just fall damage is kind of nice, but you could also have jump height as well. Either one works. It doesn't really matter. But aside from that, this is about it. Like, there's nothing particularly special. The only thing is we have extra HP and HP recovery on hit, and then fall damage minus 15% times 2. Does it really matter? No. Just get one of the 2 options if you have extras. So Ascension, which is jump height. Most people are just going to be jumping in from their horse anyway, so whatever. But depends on where you war. All right, so this is my Evasion build. I don't really use this one as much. I just kind of have it. So I've talked to other people that play Evasion classes, and they kind of just gave me ideas of what I should use. Once again, Evasion, Bon, Jin, and Hans are getting tweaked next week from the Global Lab. So it's just going to be like you're going to lose more AP total, and then the Evasion is also going to go up a little bit. So is it better? You're trading off more damage for more survivability. Basically tank, but no damage. For Evasion, this is what I have. 4 Hooms and 2 Harpias for the Evasion. We're just going to have some damage over here. And then a Red Spirit Crystal. Frozen Bitterness for the extra Evasion and DR. Always nice to have. So you guys can see what all this is as well. And then 2 Evasion ones over here. I don't even know. I don't use this one as much simply because I just don't play Evasion classes. But it's one of those things where if you had a Han, obviously the higher tiers are better. Jin, Han, good. Next one is my BSR setup. So this one is kind of very similar to this one, but with BSR. And keep in mind that like with the Han APs, you're getting +7. And so every time you switch one out, you're losing 7 AP. So what do? You replace it with another Void Destruction that gives +8. And so that's the closest to like a trade-off for BSR that you have. Like this one is full AP with more defensives. And then this one, you have the BSR crystals, but you have to replace your damage missing with that. And if you are still overcapped, you could just add like HP or something again. Like you can add these if you want to. But ultimately, I try to keep my numbers kind of close to where I need to be, but it's all good. All right, so next one, this is the PvE defense. This one, I don't really use it. It's really just kind of the meme. And if I try a new grind spot for the first time and you don't know how hard it hits, I generally put on this one and just sees like, hey, is this spot gonna one-shot me? And I kind of test it so I don't lose crystals. And you guys remember from Ash Forest, like a couple of years ago, when they first released Dekia, that thing like 10,000 my health to 0. Like I had 10,000 health, and that was a lot at the time. And then that just chunked my health to 0. And this is why we have that set, for those reasons. I don't want to lose crystals. So yeah, this one's just defensive. You could use this in PvP. You're like, the more of these crystals, you're just doing less damage in general, but it's really just testing like the tank and rock build and everything, which is actually going to be changed. So I use this more for PvE, just to test it for the first time, and then we never use it again. But it's always funny if you just want to, like, I've also used this in a way that's like, some of my guildies or friends is like, hey, can I test like my damage or rotation on a player with actual crystals and not just a target dummy, I'm like, sure, this is what I'll put on and this is what you'll see. But aside from that, you don't use it in any meaningful content. It's just kind of like, how tanky can I get with a little bit of damage on the side? That's about it. This is my accuracy build. You don't really use too much accuracy. The only time you're using it is if you're fighting an exclusively evasion player. But like, let's say you're in PvP and most people are going to be running like one of these builds, one of these three. So like the full damage one, or if you're in a node war, probably something similar to this one. Or if the only time you would use an accuracy build is to counter people who are running full evasion. And it's like a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing. So yeah, one of those weird trade-offs. I don't really have too much invested into it, but here's what I have. A little bit of extra damage as well. We have the red crystal this time. You probably could get away with any other one, but this one just kind of gives the mixed bag of offense. And so we have all this together, and then double Vipers and Elcars just for the extra accuracy. And then if you could get the Han accuracies, those are obviously better, but there's a 45 billion, and I'm like, yeah, I have better things to upgrade first for that. So this is just kind of like to counter evasion, but realistically most people are going to be in one of these two realistic scenarios. That's about it. Next one, this is for Edania PvE. Depending on if you can overcap the spot or not, you're gonna want to do this. So this one for me is for Zephyros and Orbita, because those have knockdown. So I have knockdown crystals, and unfortunately I do not have full deck sovereigns, which I can't overcap. So I have to actually, you know, still have a little bit of extra damage and AP. Otherwise I would probably trade out some of it. So either way, the most important part is having 100% knockdown resist there, or just sort of resist depending on where you're at. And this is what I would use for most Edania spots, and then trade out the RBF crystals. This one is my Edania Overcap spot, and this one has a little bit of, I think it's different. This one is knockback versus knockdown. This one I use for Tenebrom, and I'm overcapped Tenebrom, but not overcapped in Zephyros. So yeah, when I'm overcapped, this is what I look at. Like, you see a difference? I have those, and then I could trade off a little bit of damage for, you know, some more survivability for overcapped. And then you change off that, and I could run one BSR, but you know, it just depends on your gear. Most of this one, if you have 6 AP, it's probably fine. All right, so life skills. This is very straightforward. Life skillers, you have easy, you know, you only have one best in slot thing, and then you get that one. Life skillers have it so easy. The hard part for all of this one is probably going to get the 2 to combine it into that into Breath of Verdure, which you can watch my gathering video. I'll leave a link in the description if you're curious to get all of this one. Your bottleneck is going to be black magic crystals or those magical shards. So chances are you're going to have to make all these yourself. I had to do it for myself as well. So yeah, only one crystal to talk about, and that's it. And then combat XP. This is exclusively for when I'm on season characters, just trying to get them to like level 60, 61, or if I'm on a training dummy overnight, which usually I'm fishing instead, but I just like to have it. So all of these are the crystals you get from seasonals, and then one gear and steer. So if you're a new player and you're like, oh, I don't have all these, I only have like 2 of them per season character, right? This is what you could do instead. Combat. Let me see, is the crystal there? EXP, oh god. Yeah, you could just buy these ones. So these aren't best in slot, but they give 10%, and there's no limit to how many you can run. So you kind of just get these and then replace them out for the 20% the more seasons you play. So these are very cheap as well. and you can substitute those in for all of this. Yeah, so those are all my crystals and all the extra like Hans. For most people, if you just have all APs, that's fine. The end game is where you're switching out these for like evasion, DR, accuracy, and then like BSR. That's end game things. But for most people, I would recommend just getting 6 Hans, because that will help you for most things, and then like trade-off damage later once you're already capped. So yeah, here are my crystals that I have. Let's see, what are things I could talk about? You know how we talked about these armor crystals? If you don't have them, or you're like, I don't want to spend 500 mil per crystal, you can get these as the cheaper options. They just give +5 all DR, and that's about it. So yeah, these are the budget options. If you don't have the Jin crystals, you can get the Magic Infinity ones. Once again, these are significantly cheaper options. If you don't have corrupted crystals, Mysterious Darkness for back attacks is also a good alternative. Let's see, what are other cheap things that people can get as well? Let's see. Oh yeah, like you don't, realistically, people don't need Vipers as much anymore, or Vipers or Elcars. Those are PvP exclusive ones, but yeah, really just depends. And if you don't have these either, like let's say you don't want to spend 150 or a billion silver on them, probably get away with standard extra crit damage or beginner options builds as well. And that's about it. So what you would do for the +5 if you were doing resistances, so like this one for example, the Dog Patience, how it gives stun stiffness, you can replace those with Stalwart Fortitudes depending on the species type, or like not species but like the CC type. And I think that's about it. So yeah, obviously if you can get Hans or Jins, those are better, but those are once again end game investments that they are also very sold out. So like if you're looking at this one and you're like, oh, I should get these, that's why I don't invest in them. It's not that I can't, it's just I'm just like, that's 45 billion silver. So anyway, those are the crystals I use. Here are Reforged Stones if you are at that stage of the game. So this is what I use for basically all 3 of them. So all AP, crit damage, crit rate, crit damage, BSR, and back attack. For PvPing, I slot in an extra accuracy one, and you could have extra accuracy as a replacement on those if you want to. If you're doing defensives, you can have all damage reduction on like 2 or 3 of them as well. So that would help you out. But for the most part, max damage, I would probably just go with this setup for all classes in general, because all of these are just good. So no matter what class you play, this is my go-to. And then, you know, adjust according to what you're doing. All right, so I'll leave a couple of videos talking about my artifacts, because that one's another like 20 minutes. If you want to watch that, you'll just leave it there. And then those are the updated crystals I have. So the newest things are the new Gluttony ones, and those are very expensive, and you get them from the new Star's End. But if you don't have it, it's really not a big deal. Just use the standard ones. It's only +3 AP difference, which is a lot for endgame, but a new player doesn't have to worry about that. Anyway, just wanted to say thanks so much for watching. We have 1 week left on the content creator codes. So if you see on screen over there, I have a code, and if you're thinking about buying any pearls or upgrading your game packages, use my code, and I get a small portion of that kickback. And we have 1 week left, so always appreciated, never required, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.